Tonight's episode of Legacy Battle is brought to you by Atlas Benefits.
Atlas Benefits has solutions for your insurance needs. Atlas Benefits can help you obtain Medicare, health, or life insurance and employee benefits. You can find them on the web at www.atlasbenefits.com.
Or you can contact Rob Ducey or Roy Smith at 727-600-2892 and mention Legacy Battle Podcast. Atlas Benefits has all the solutions for your insurance needs. Enjoy the show. This is Legacy Battle. Make sure you hit subscribe on whatever you're listening on YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Safari, Apple, iTunes, you name it, we're on it. And that Facebook group, make sure you join that. I'm Michael Adams, creator of Legacy Battle. My panelists tonight from the Gridiron Battle Zone, Brian King, Penn State Collegiate All-Star Kevin Adams, Ball State athlete Paul Havicott. Our special guest tonight, we're joined by a NFL defensive end who was the 13th overall pick in the 2000 draft out of South Carolina, played for the Falcons, Cardinals, and the New York Jets. Kevin representing with his Jets jersey down there. He's a two-time first-team All-Pro as well as a second-team All-Pro, a member of the 100 sack club with 133.5 total sacks, and that's good for 13th all-time. He's also forced 46 fumbles. That is a lot of fumbles forced. And he's got a pick, so you got to throw that interception in there. He's a South Carolina Gamecocks Hall of Famer, five-time NFL Pro Bowler, John Abraham. John, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you guys for having me. Need a little break from the monotony. We'll talk a little green and white, huh? Let's talk a little green and white here.
There you go, absolutely. So he kind of mentioned it. Tonight's debate is going to be the New York Jets' top 5 defensive players of all time. We'll do our usual, discuss 8, vote 5's the winner, and then we'll have our Q&A for John afterwards. So we're going to start out tonight with Mo Lewis.
Okay, I took Mo Lewis, born 10/21/69 out of Atlanta, Georgia. Congratulations to the Braves for winning the World Series. Mo played for the Jets from 91 to 03, was a third-round pick for the Jets and played 200 games for them. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler, 98, 99, and 2000, 1,231 tackles, 14 interceptions for 241 yards, 29 forced fumbles, pretty good, but not as many as our boy John here. 13 fumble recoveries for 74 yards, 5 defensive touchdowns, and 52.5 sacks. Mo played 200 games as a Jet, was the third longest tenure in franchise history, and was one of the most loved team members and players and captains of his time. And, you know, I was reading the stats with Mo, and I think he's definitely a shoe-in for the top 5, but Mo's got another fan out there, and his name's Tom Brady, because Mo basically can be kind of attributed to kickstarting what we had to endure for about 2 decades of a Patriots dynasty. Mo is responsible for injuring old Drew Bledsoe, who left the game, causing the Patriots to turn to some unknown 6th-round pick, Tom Brady. And from there on, Patriots went 11-3 for the remainder of the season, resulting in the team's first Super Bowl in 2002. And then basically for the next 2 decades, all we heard of is Tom Brady. Thank God he's getting old now. We don't hear too much about him anymore. But that's Mo Lewis.
Man, he just lost my vote for that play right there. He's ruined football in the last 20 years.
Dude, you're a hypocrite if you don't vote for him. He's been a Jet his whole career. You love that.
Yeah, touche. So, John, you played with Mo for a little bit, right, down there in New York. What kind of teammate was he, and what do you think of him overall?
Mo is first of all, he's an upstanding guy. I mean, outside of football, just the person he was, I definitely was he was one of my role models, good and bad. I'm not in the bad way. I'm just saying that he did stuff so easily, and he worked out so much at home. He didn't bring his work to work. So a lot of times he'll be in the gym and he won't work out hard. So I molded my game after that. He tried to make everybody think everything was natural, but Mo was just like a cop diesel guy. I mean, he was up to 300 pounds. He dropped down to like 255, 260 to play. And he was an incredible leader, just mentally and physically. I mean, I love the guy. Like personally, he's definitely in my top 5. Just saying the tenure and the years he put in with the Jets through the good and bad. And even though he really was a guy that, really did start Tom Brady out. I still remember that play. Him and Sean Ellis just came with a lick that was, I don't even understand why Drew was running anyway. It made no sense at all. But that hit, I mean, like literally, like, people say you hear a car crash, like it really sounded like a car crash. Like it's amazing to think that it's been 20 years since that happened and Tom is still playing like nothing. It's not like he's popping Super Bowls still. I mean, come on, man.
John, do you think current day Drew Bledsoe still wakes up in the middle of the night thinking about that hit, 20 years ago?
Well, he did get a ring, so he can't really talk trash. I mean, 'cause I don't know if he, like one thing we did do whenever we had Drew, we would circle him on our schedule because we knew we were gonna get about 3 or 4 sacks. Because Drew could not move. He cannot get out the pocket, and he cannot do anything else. So he had a gun on him, but he used to hold that ball for us. So it was a good and a bad thing. I was just like, no, not Drew. Don't hurt him. Like, hey, you gotta make sure he stay in the game. And that's crazy. But what if we wouldn't have hurt him? Like, would we have known Tom Brady as Tom Brady? That's a crazy thing, right?
Yeah, it is crazy to think about.
History changed with one hit. So.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. I'm gonna go next. We're gonna go Darrelle Revis, going out to Revis Island here, loneliest place on the football field, Revis Island. So, drafted by the Jets, the University of Pittsburgh, right there. So that makes me like him just because of that. So played with the Jets from 2007 to 2012, and then also had another stint 2015, 2016. So he is third all-time in interceptions by a Jet with 25. He also recovered 10 fumbles and has a sack. So that doesn't sound like a high interception number, but I'm going to tell you why here in a second. So what he does lead the Jets on is passes defended, and there's nobody even close in that. He's got 112 passes defended. I think, if I'm recalling correctly, that was at least 40 or 50 that he had the lead by. But this guy was so good, they wouldn't throw in his direction. Like, quarterbacks were literally scared to throw in his direction. And imagine how many more interceptions he would have had if some of them would have had the gall. Even Tom Brady, was quoted as saying that, Revis is Revis Island for a reason. So, it's if Brady's saying it, it's true. So he can throw in 4 tackles for a loss too. Corners don't get that too often, so that was pretty good. He's a Pro Bowler 4 years with the Jets. Obviously, he has a few more with some other teams. First team All-Pro from 2009 to 2011, all those years. And he's the 2010 NFL All-Decade team. Some of those years were spent with the Jets. So I believe in the mid to late 2015s, he was the best cornerback in football. And certainly during his Jets tenure, he was by far the best in the league. So, John, your thoughts on Revis? I know he came after you were gone, but Revis Island, was it a real thing? Was it something that quarterbacks thought about?
Revis definitely left his mark on the Jets. I think he left his mark on football. Yeah, but Revis definitely bought the Jets a new type player that they never had. I mean, I was there with Aaron Glenn. I was there with, Marcus Coleman back in the day. And Aaron Glenn was a great cornerback, but getting Revis, not saying out of nowhere, but, I didn't really hear a lot about Revis, but they did their work on that guy, getting Revis. And Revis definitely gave the defense a whole new look. People would start paying attention to the Jets, and they were looking at the Jets and wondering, what's going on with the Jets? They were watching the Jets defense, which they haven't done in probably years. I mean, since I was there, we had a little following because we had Herm Edwards and everybody was really on the defensive side of looking for the defense. But he really transcended the Jets period as a team. I mean, think about it. Every time you see a commercial with Revis on it, pretty much everybody knew Revis. They might didn't know anybody else on the Jets, but they knew Revis. So Revis definitely left his mark. Anywhere he goes in New York, he's known. Anywhere he goes in the NFL, he's known because he left that kind of mark. Definitely where he was. So you got to place him high. You got to place him high.
He was really just a phenomenal player, generational talent. The only other player from the Jets defense that I really remember from that time period, maybe Byron Scott. He was there for a while, wasn't he? If I'm thinking right.
Bart Scott.
Bart Scott. Yeah, there you go. Bart Scott. So, yeah, see, I didn't even get the first name right. Anywho, let's move on to our next player. Let's go Jamal Adams.
I know Jamal Adams is a long shot here. Only, had three seasons with the Jets. Strong safety. He's actually currently playing for Seattle. He was drafted 6th overall in the 2017 NFL draft by the Jets, but he was quickly an impact to the team. He was a starter for the Jets immediately. He made the Pro Bowl twice, named All-Pro. He had a short time with the Jets, as I'd mentioned, from 17 to 2019 before going to Seattle. In 2021, this is how good he is. The Seahawks extended his contract to $72 million with $20 million signing bonus, $38 million guaranteed, making him the highest paid safety in NFL. So the Jets definitely gave up a big piece of the puzzle when they traded him off to Seattle. While he was with the Jets, let's face it, he didn't have a good team. It's unfortunate because I think he would have gotten more attention and probably more accolades if they were competitive. He might still be there too. But he made the first team All-Pro in 2019, 2018 second team All-Pro, Pro Bowl in 18 and 19, like I mentioned. He got the PFWA All-Rookie team in 2017. This man is fast. He ran the 40 in 4.33 seconds. As a rookie, he was signed to a fully guaranteed 4-year deal worth $22.25 million with over $14 million signing bonus. That shows you how good this guy is. In his second season, he was named captain of the Jets roster for 2018. In 2019, he was ranked 37th among his fellow players on the NFL Top 100 list for 2019 before the season started. He finished his Jets tenure, although it was short. He had 273 combined tackles, 210 solo tackles, 12 sacks, 2 interceptions, 1 touchdown, 6 forced fumbles, 4 fumble recoveries in just 3 seasons with the Jets. Now, when Seattle traded for Jamal Adams, they gave up a 2021 first-round pick, a 2021 third-round pick, a 2022 first-round pick, and a safety just for Adams and a 4th-round pick. This man's valuable, yet his tenure, as I said, was short with the Jets. He's definitely an honorable mention if he doesn't make the list. And he did get awarded the Martin Award in 2018 and 2019, which is given to the most valuable Jets player, named after Curtis Martin.
We won't know how valuable he really was to the Jets, so all those draft picks come in. So you never know what they're going to get off of that. John, when they brought Jamal in, he was supposed to be part of the defensive rebuild, and then he's gone 3 years later. I mean, what makes a team just up and trade a key piece like that? Any idea?
That's been the Jets' MO for the last few years. I mean, we got to be honest. Like, whenever it seems like we have a great defensive player, we tend to seem to let him slip through the cracks. And I love what Jamal did. I love his presence on the field, but I don't think 3 years was enough to put him in the top 5. The most value that you showed me that he did for the Jets was his value monetarily, but on the field, it didn't occur as wins per se. I mean, he was a great player. He still is a great player, but I think that when we talking about greats. If you're talking about a great player, we were talking about players and all, but we're talking about the Jets right now. So I can give him a lot of money. He made over he gonna make like $100 million, something like that. So that's good for him. But I don't think he made that $100 million with the Jets though. So we can't. I mean, I love the guy as a player. I would have loved to play with him, but we sticking straight to Jet stuff. And Now he was a great guy. Now if you say the decade team maybe come up, yeah, he might can make it as a safety maybe in his 3 years because he did a hell of a job when he was there. But I don't think the top 5. I can't see that right now.
Money like that going on the defense now. Does that make you want to come back?
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on to Joe Cleco.
All right, Joe Cleco, defensive end, defensive tackle, nose tackle for the Jets from 1977 to 1987. The New York Times once described Joe as ox strong and cat quick. 6'3", 272 pounds. He was just a big load to try and block. If you don't believe me, we can ask some football legends. We have Anthony Munoz once said, "Joe is the strongest guy I ever faced. He had a perfect technique, hands in tight, great leverage. He was such a smart and intense player." And then Pro Football Hall of Famer Joe Lemure, he once said Joe Cleco was equal to Mean Joe Green and Merlin Olsen in terms of difficulty to block. So not only was Joe able to beat blocks, but he was able to finish the job as well. He is now credited with 78 quarterback sacks during his career, with a career high of 20 and a half during the 1981 season. That was the most sacks in the NFL that year. 1981 was also significant for Joe because he won 4 different Defensive Player of the Year awards that season. The NEA, the KCC, UPI, and the PFWA. And more importantly, he led the Jets to their first postseason game since Super Bowl III. Joe also collected 4 Pro Bowl trips and was named to 2 All-Pro first teams during his career. He really showed his versatility by being named a Pro Bowler as a 4-3 DE, then a 4-3 defensive tackle, and then a 3-4 nose tackle. So only Joe Cleco and Ronnie Lott have ever made the Pro Bowl with not 1, not 2, but 3 different positions on the field. And let's not forget that, Joe was able to successfully block Sheriff Buford T. Justice with his tractor trailer and Smokey and the Bandit too. So Joe Cleco, he was a nightmare to block on the D-line. I think he should be a Hall of Famer, and I think he's definitely a top 5 player on this list tonight.
John, you mentioned that versatility. I mean, that's something we don't see very often today from players. How hard is it to play a different position at that level?
It's tough, especially at D-line. I think that's what sticks out to me, and maybe because I'm a D lineman. I really don't think Joe gets enough credit. I mean, I love the guys on the list, but he definitely sticks out like number 1 in my rank, simply because what he did and why he's not a Hall of Famer. I'm just shocked and appalled by it. I don't know if it's because of the Jets and they just really thin with giving Jets Hall of Fame recognition, or maybe it's just because of the accolades, or maybe he just wasn't. I don't know. Maybe he wasn't good with the media or something, because the media really vote for who's Pro Bowl and who's Hall of Fame, who does certain things. But I'm like, I give that guy his credit. I mean, he's definitely a Hall of Famer. And you said it was 3 positions. I thought it was 4. I heard he made, you hear the stories from the guys. They be like, oh, he made it in every position. Now, I'm talking about from left all the way down to right. So, I'm thinking that, it's amazing because their whole, with Marty Lyons, with Gastineau, they had a D line that was unmatched. So that's definitely something that we got to look at for 1-2 or easy 1-2 like that for me.
I think he deserves in the Hall of Fame. I mean, they put Joe Namath in, so Cleco should be in there, in my opinion. But all right, let's move on to Mark Gastineau.
Yeah, I love this. This was an interesting research here, a little bit of nostalgia. Born 11/20/56 out of Ardmore, Oklahoma. Played his entire career once again with the Jets. I love that. 1979 to 1988. I love the people that play with one team. I know that view's a little bit antiquated now, but I just really can appreciate that. I can't believe John started to touch on it, but I can't believe you didn't talk about this, Brian. He was part of one of the greatest nicknames. I think it's up there with Legion of Doom and Steel Curtain. Sneaky good. He was part of the New York Sack Exchange defensive line that included Joe Cleco, Marty Lyons, and I hope I pronounced this right, Abdul Salem. The four combined for 66 sacks in 1981, including 20 by Mark. That year, the Jets made the playoffs for the first time since '69. I think you mentioned that. Kind of a lot of firsts around Mark. He was drafted in the second round by New York out of East Central University in Oklahoma. At that time, it was their first draft pick ever, and he was noticed by a lady named Connie Carberg, who at the time was the NFL's first ever female scout. Kind of interesting. He's got good stats, 137 games, 9 fumble recoveries, 2 resulting in touchdowns, 74 official sacks, 107.5 unofficially. As a side note, sacks weren't made official stat until 1982. First team All-Pro in 82, 83, and 84. 5-time Pro Bowler 5 years straight from 81 to 85. 2-time NFL sack leader 83 and 84. Mark ranked as 8th greatest pass rushers in NFL history on the NFL Network's top 10 pass rushers. Of course, he's in the New York Jets Ring of Honor. He retired abruptly in '88 for family reasons while leading the NFL in sacks through 7 weeks. As I was researching him, I couldn't help but wonder and let my mind wander what his career would have been like in the current day. He was afflicted with some off-field stuff, and I think that's going to come up here. And I'm not making light of it. Some of these things were pretty egregious, but one thing that sticks out is 1984, Gastineau was found guilty of assaulting a patron at Studio 54. How nostalgic is that? He ended up getting some community service, and he taught football to inmates at Rikers Island. I mean, that's straight out of the movies. In '91, he actually started a boxing career and went about 4 or 5 years, to my recollection. I think his first knockout was Derek Dukes, who was a former professional wrestler. But then I think later on, Derek admitted he took a dive or something like that. But it was like he was told to take a dive to make Mark look good. But Mark's a character, all with one team. I think he's like a player that he was kind of a troublemaker back then. I don't know. I don't know him personally. But nowadays, thinking of the trouble he could get into, who knows? But that's Mark Gastineau.
So it's so rare today for a player to play his whole career with one team. I'm sure that meant quite a lot to him. But John, what are your thoughts on him and just that entire D line back there in the early '80s? I mean, they're famous.
Oh yeah, definitely. First of all, I gotta say I have the utmost respect for Mark Gastineau. As a person, as a friend. I mean, when I first met the guy, he was just so loving. And you hear about all the stories about a person, and you hear about like how terrible they were back in the day, and yada yada yada. I remember they wouldn't even let him come to the practice field. But he was staying outside the gate and just still watch us play. He always used to give me a big hug and a kiss and be like, "Oh, John, I love you, man." He's a great guy. As a player, I think he definitely put numbers up that are worthy. I only have one thing that really bothers me, the steroid thing. It kind of bothers me because I felt like he was a good player, but I don't know how good he would have been. And I mean, he even told me he was on, it's kind of messed him up. So it kind of messes me up looking back, even though a lot of guys back in the day did it. So you can't really knock him for, getting that getting that advantage. But, for me, it kind of takes a little away from what he did. Not saying anyone else didn't do it either, but, for me, it knocks him. But I still think he's top 5, but, that kind of takes a little bit from like what I really loved about his game.
Mike, real quick, and John touches on it, and it's all. I really want to say this just because I mentioned some of the off-field stuff, but Mark turned his life around, and I think John kind of touched on him being a good. It really warrants mentioning. In 2007, he got remarried, and he's part of a church. I think he's in their choir. But Mark got it straightened out, it looks like, from what I can tell. So he ended up finding the path, but yeah, he might have been afflicted early on, but he seems to have turned it around.
Let me say one thing real quick. I don't know if you guys know, Mark Gastineau is he's going through cancer right now.
Yes.
So, prayers out to him. If you're listening, Mark, we're praying for you, man.
Yeah, definitely. Love that guy.
Well, let's move back to the secondary. We're gonna go Eric Mcmillan. I like the secondary, so that's why I swiped all the secondary guys tonight. So, true fact here, in 1988, when I opened my first pack of football cards, Eric Mcmillan was the first card that came out, wearing that green Jets jersey. It's beautiful. So, number 22, University of Missouri, third-round pick by the Jets, played from 88 to 92. Made 2 Pro Bowls and an All-Pro while he was during his tenure with the Jets. In 1988, he's named the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, and he led the AFC in interceptions with 8, and that was as a rookie, so that's impressive. And he's the first Jets player in history to make the Pro Bowl his first 2 seasons in the league. So a nice little stat there for him. You know, he went on to coach with the Jets. I think it was 2016. He was like a training camp coach. You know, one of those guys they just bring in for the camps or whatever. He was loved by Jets fans. He gave them some hope in some, let's just say, some down years there in the late 80s. You know, when Marino was kind of dominating the divisions there for a while. You know, Mcmillan was back there trying to keep Marino in check. Not an easy thing to do during that time period. So, you know, like I say, he's loved by Jets fans. He played some years, you know, where the Jets, they needed a star on defense, and he was a star there for 4 seasons before he moved on. He's not a long shot to make the top 5. He could be there. I find him like kind of right on the cusp, but we'll see how that vote turns out tonight. John, your thoughts on Mcmillan?
I think he started off great, but he had 8 picks his first year, 6, 5, and 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
So he had some great numbers, but my thing is when you got Revis, you know, it's kind of tough to put those names together and try to keep them in the same way. He had a great career with us, you know, but this is a tough one because, you know, he started off so good. You know, it's kind of tough to say that this guy don't deserve to be in the top 5. With me, I don't know, he's maybe 6 because I'm looking at Mo, and I love Mo, so I'm kind of partial to Mo. And you gave me Revis, you know, you gave me Cleco, you gave me Gastineau, you know. I'm like, bro, you know. So not saying I'm not trying to knock him at all. I'm just trying to wage it, you know. And I didn't really get to see him play a lot either, so you know. But I'm looking at his stats, and like he is definitely one of the guys that put up some numbers that definitely kept people coming to see Jets.
Yeah. One funny thing about Mcmillan I'll throw out there was there was one time there was something was going on in the press with him and Don Shula, and he actually picked off Dan Marino, and as he was returning the interception, he flipped the bird to Don Shula as he was going by. So that was pretty funny. He had a little bit of an attitude on him.
Classic. I love that.
That's top 5 worthy right there. So, all right, let's move on to Mark Grantham.
Mark Grantham, you mean Larry Grantham?
Oh, yeah, sorry, Larry.
Jeez.
You know he ain't getting to the top 5 now.
After I tell you what he's done, he better be in the top 5. So played for the New York Titans Jets from 1960 to 1972. He's an Ole Miss Hall of Famer linebacker. He came to the AFL Titans in 1960 draft, and he helped form basically the backbone of the Jets defense that reached the playoffs in 68, 69. And they won the 1968 AFL Championship and the World Championship over the NFL's Baltimore Colts for Super Bowl III. That year, the Colts had won 15 of 16 of their games, and they were 18-point favorites to win that Super Bowl. The Jets Titans came on top. He was a starter his whole time with the Titans Jets. He helped bring them from the worst team in the NFL or in the AFL to world champions in just 9 years. He was smart, tough. He was all over the field. He knew what every player on the defense was supposed to do on each play. He could blanket the field. He could rush the quarterback. He could drop into coverage. He could neutralize the sweep. He could stack the short yardage run. This man could do it all. He is one of the Jets' leading tacklers. He was named to the AFL All-Star team 5 times and played in 8 league All-Star games. He was selected 5 times to the all-time All-AFL second team and 5 times to the first team. He was one of only 20 players to have competed in the AFL for the entire 10-year existence of that league, and only one of 7 AFL players who have played their entire careers in one city. Grantham was also named the 1971 New York Jets MVP. The Professional Football Researchers Association named Grantham the PRFA Hall of Very Good class of 2014. He is in the Jets Ring of Honor. He was the Jets defensive captain. He had 43 career takeaways, still a franchise record, 24 interceptions as a linebacker. That's, I think it was one more than Rivas, right? Ranking 4th in the franchise. It said that he had 31 sacks, but as Paul had mentioned earlier, they didn't record sacks in this time period. But that would put him 11th in the franchise. He only missed 7 games in his whole career. Jerry Philbin, a great defensive Jets player, said that Grantham was the best player on the Jets at that time when he played with them. And that's when Unitas was on the team. EliteSportsNY.com listed Grantham the 3rd best Jets defensive player of all time and the greatest linebacker in team history. Grantham deserves to be in this top 5 tonight.
So, John, you heard the numbers well before your time, obviously, before all our times, but the guy's got a ring. Nobody else on this list can say that with the Jets tonight.
Definitely just hearing all his stats, and I wish I would have got to see more of his tape, because that really has a lot to do with it. It was in the past, and I think our past is what built us. And I definitely think that he should be in the top 5. Just from the longevity and the Pro Bowls and the accolades that he's got. He's in the Ring of Honor. He's the MVP of the team. He's done it all. I mean, the guy was pretty much he should have been the owner by now. But I know he passed away recently. But I'm like, he got everything that's needed. I mean, if it was a time of social media back then, he'd have been kind of like Ray Lewis, right? I mean, the turnovers and the sacks. I mean, that's impeccable. So I'm pushing him up high. I like his I like what he did for the Jets, and I'm sure that if people would have paid more attention to him, they would have seen it too.
And actually, I want to make a correction though. Not Unitas. It was Namath. When Namath was on the team,
Right.
Philbin still said that
Points
Grantham was
deduction.
the best player on the Jets team.
Sounds like some points deduction. Make a note of it, Mike.
Whatever, dude.
Brian, let me ask you real quick. You're our football guru, of course. Here, any chance, and maybe just this is an opinion for you, the Veterans Committee puts him in the Hall of Fame? I mean, his numbers, they look Hall of Fame to me.
Yeah, but with the Seniors Committee, they have really a tough job because there's a lot of guys that are, like Kevin said, Hall of Very Good. The guys are right on the cusp. I mean, we mentioned Joe Cleco. We mentioned, there's other guys, Ken Riley, and the Senior Committee only puts in, I believe it's only a max of 2 guys per class. Usually it's only 1 guy. So, this major backlog of guys who are, who played 35, 40 years and more ago, it's just so difficult to get all those guys in. It's just going to take a long time.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to our final player tonight. Some guy named John Abraham. I don't know.
Right. We got John Abraham, defensive end, spent his first 6 seasons with the Jets, 2000 to 2005, 6'4", 263 pounds, played on the right side of the defense, made his presence felt. 4.55 second 40 time. So very quick off that edge. Statistically, one thing that really stands out when I look at Abraham, he had a league leading 6 forced fumbles in 2001. He again had 6 in 2005. Also the QB sacks, 53.5 sacks in a 6-year span with a high mark of 13 in 2001. So per 16 games, that works out to 12 sacks per year. So that's very, very good. John also made 3 trips to the Pro Bowl as a member of the Jets and made 1 first team All-Pro. And really the only thing that stopped John from being a Pro Bowl player each year with the Jets was injury. In 2000, his rookie year, he had 4.5 QB sacks and 2 forced fumbles and 12 tackles before being lost for the year. And in 2003, he had 6 sacks in 7 games before going down with injury. So he was off to great starts in both of those years. In 2001, he tied a Jets franchise record with Gastineau and Cleco when he had 4 QB sacks in a single game. In the 2002-2003 playoffs, he was able to record a sack in both of the Jets games. And his former Jets teammate, Chad Pennington, the quarterback, once said this about John Abraham: he is that quintessential edge pass rusher who can change the game at the drop of a hat. He can really come through with a strip sack or some type of turnover play. He was just a big play type of guy. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a big play type of guy coming off the edge fast, making things happen, creating havoc in the backfield. So that's John Abraham.
So, John, we're going to hear a lot about your career during our Q&A section, but just for this, I mean, you were drafted by the Jets. What did it mean to you to be part of their organization? And was there a chance during that draft that maybe you were going to go to another team? Somebody else was trying to take you?
Yeah, I thought I was going to San Francisco but they ended up dropping down and they ended up getting Julian Peterson. So, we was almost like the same guy because I was, in the 3-4 defense and playing outside, and I was a pretty good pass rusher. I think the only thing that will stop me from being in this top 5 for me personally, just the years played there. And like you said, a lot of the games were injured. Dealt with a bad groin injury that I actually got hurt again, and I'm still dealing with to this day. So that's how bad the injury was. So I had to deal with that my whole career. So that's the only thing I would say that will stop me from being in the top 5, just because of the years played. Like I only played 6 years, and really I felt like if I was there longer, like me and Sean would probably have been a better duo. I think like I said, like the Jets have a good thing on like letting good players go, like right when they're at their prime, and kind of not riding out with them, like Jonathan Vilma, James Ferrier. Like it's just a lot of guys. If we would have stuck with those guys, I think if all those was on one team, it would have been something awesome. And even when I guess Al Groh left, it kind of it ruined a lot of people's careers, and people don't understand that because a lot of people, our defense pretty much had to change. But most of my guys that left went to New England and got a ring. Like Posse went to Pittsburgh. Ferrier went to New England. Brian Cox went to New England. So everybody kind of moved around and got what they had to do.
Well, let's move into our vote tonight. Can't pick your own guys. Paul, you can start us off.
Just picking one, right?
Correct.
Yep. So out of my 3 here, I'll go with Larry, otherwise known as Mark Grantham. I like that Super Bowl ring. I like that stats. I like Kevin, so I think it was a good argument.
Go ahead, Kevin.
I'm gonna have to go with Joe Cleco.
Okay. Brian?
Well, I mean, we can't let this thing go off of the Revis Island, so I got to go Revis. I mean, dude, just shut down corner in every sense of the word.
So, gosh, I'm taking John Abraham because I believe you belong on this list. I know you're being humble and all that, that's cool, but you belong on this top 5 list tonight. So I'm picking you. So you got the last pick. That leaves you Mark Gastineau, Eric Mcmillan, Mo Lewis, and Jamal Adams.
Let me get Mo. I'll tell you, I'm kind of partial to Mo because I played with Mo, and like he has that tenure. He has that tenor. He was there for years, and he played great football when I was there.
So that makes our top 5 New York Jets defensive players tonight of all time. Revis Island, Darrelle Revis, John Abraham, Mo Lewis, Larry Grantham, and Joe Cleco. Nice job, boys. Let's move into our Q&A. Brian, you got 2 on the list, so you get first question.
All right. John, you played on the right side as a defensive end for your first 9 years in the league. Then you switched to the left side for a couple years with Atlanta Then you were listed as a right outside linebacker at Arizona. So were these transitions in positions difficult for you at first? And what was the reasoning behind each change?
Mostly I got drafted as an outside linebacker. So my whole career to me was kind of tainted playing defensive end so much. I've always felt like I was an outside linebacker. And I got the opportunity in college to move to outside linebacker, and that way I was drafted. And like you said, my rookie year, I was off to a great start, 4.5 sacks for 6 games, and then Herm Edwards came and put me back at end, and it just changed my career. Like, and I mean, I still had a great career, but I think I was an outside linebacker and just playing the end most of the time. I think there was a lot of things that I could have done, and I think that showed because when I went to Arizona, I made the Pro Bowl my last full year playing at outside linebacker. And I tend to think like, what if I would have stayed in the 3-4, like kind of had that just one-on-one with tight ends, no double teams and a lot of things like that, like where my numbers would have been, or if my body would have held up better, at linebacker than it would have at end that whole time. So for me, it's kind of a shaky situation. And, you thought like, but you want to play and you want to play at a position that, I guess you get paid well at, and that's the end. But, I think if I were to play outside linebacker, I would have been, pretty good guy too,
So I want to take you back to 1999, South Carolina. Lou Holtz comes in as the coach. I mean, expectations were high. It was a rough season in 1999, record-wise, of course. But, what was it like to have just a legend as your coach, and what was the expectations when he came in? What was going around campus? What were people thinking?
My expectations weren't really high. I was just expecting to play football. I was just so used to playing football and being, on a team. I didn't really care, like, and I knew about Lou Holtz, but I was just kind of like, we just got to play football. You know what I'm saying? Because actually in college, when you find out you got to go, you might have a chance to go to the NFL. Your whole focus is staying healthy, playing ball, staying healthy, playing ball. And then, like the week before the season start, Lou, first of all, Lou is the littlest guy you'll see in life, but he has the most energy. He like you hear about the coaches that can make somebody run through a wall. That's Lou Holtz. But he came in, and I think a week before the season started, he was like, "John, do you want to move to linebacker?" I was like, "Yes." I'm like, I was waiting for you to ask me because and it actually changed my career, and I think it helped me get in the first round. Showing my I guess what you call it, the flexibility I had of doing any kind of role, and I think it really helped. But Lou was the guy that definitely changed my life because he told a lot of NFL scouts were kind of like, is this guy good? Is he gonna be that? He gets hurt, he gets nicked up. Lou told him I was one of the best defensive players he ever had, and coming out of Lou Holtz's mouth, that's a big thing.
Definitely. Paul.
John, I'm one short bridge south of Tampa, and we hear and see a lot of Bruce Arians. And I think in your life, you've had a kind of a relationship with Bruce. And I think you talked to him extensively about when you were considering retirement. Is there anything you'd want to share from that conversation? Any takeaways that stuck with you to help you make your decision?
I was actually going to retire before that first game. But, Bruce, I guess Bruce knows I'm a football player. And he knew I needed to be out there if I wanted to literally be happy. So he told me, he was like, "John, just play, just practice, just play, just see if it's really still there." Because he admitted to me that I had more in the tank. You know what I mean? And he saw that my personal life was getting in the way of my football life, and he just showed me that I need to get back into football. And he actually ended up helping me because of when I got injured that game, I found out I was bleeding on both sides of my brain. So I wouldn't have knew that. I was wondering why I couldn't remember stuff. I was wondering why I was doing weird things. And, you don't know that you have mental issues. You just think something's wrong. I couldn't sleep right. I couldn't really hold a conversation with people. I still knew football, but I knew I was kind of walking around with cloudy eyes all the time. I couldn't really see good, and You know, I used to lose my cell phone. I used to use my like credit cards and all that stuff. So it ended up being a blessing more than a curse, you know, even though I didn't get to finish that season off, because I was looking at, you know, have a good year, get double-digit sacks, be in the top 5 of sacks. But I ended up being like number 9 when I left. And but he just really encouraged me to be to finish the season out. And you know, there are a lot of things that you think about and you wish you still could do. Like, because like if you see my numbers, I had like 192 games, 133 sacks, but I missed like over 40 some games. That's 3 years of football. So you like I only really played 12 years of football, and they're just with injuries. And you know, hopefully people can look at that instead of, you know, the 15 years.
Kevin.
So I want to take you back to high school. Looks like you were quite the track athlete, and you only played one year of high school football, and you got recruited still to a D1 big university. How did you get into switching from track to football and getting recruited after just one season?
You know, everybody played football when you was younger. And I guess my blessing was I guess my curse was also my blessing. Being from a small town, I was big. You know, for a small town guy, I was big. So I was big and I was fast. That's all you really needed back in the day to play football. And also, you know, my mom, I broke my ankle when I was in 8th grade. My mom didn't want me to play football no more. My senior year, I was going and I was like, okay. I looked at my girlfriend accolades and I saw what she had in the yearbook and I saw what I had. I was like, okay, I got to pad my stats. Let me go play football. Let me get this more. And, you know, I ended up being pretty good at it. You know, at first it was kind of tough, you know, learning because they was talking so much. He was telling me, do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. You know, I only had like 2 routes in high school. That was a go route and that was just like a slant. That was it. You know what I mean? And then on defense, he just told me, see ball, get ball, and that was it. It was a wrap after that. You know, I used my track and I just try to outrun people. I didn't really try to hit people unless I had to. You know, I was a kicker too, so I did my job.
Paul, go ahead.
Well, I was thinking about this the other day when Mike Evans gave Tom Brady's 600 touchdown ball to a fan accidentally, and I was thinking about you, and one thing that sticks out to me about your career is you had 1 interception. Did you keep that ball? And did you think at the time you were never going to get another one? I mean, that's crazy. You got 1 interception. That must have been special.
Well, you know what? It was special because of the timing, because it was against Drew Brees. Like I said, it's so funny. I hear about so many DB linemen getting so many interceptions. Like, I think Pep got like 15 or 16. He got some kind of crazy number. I know he got more than Jamal Adams got. But I'm like, you know, it's tough because, you know, I got mine off a tip pass. And for me, it was so special because it was like a Thursday night game. And it was and we were talking about it the week before, and I ended up getting it. And like I said, it was against Drew. So it's definitely something that I'm happy about, and I'm glad I got. You know, it was a weird pick, but it's one that's gonna go down in history for me.
You got the ball?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I gave it to my sister actually. I'm not too good.
I figured you did.
My memory is terrible, so I give all my awards and everything. I give them to my mom, either my sister, because they'll keep them. I've lost so many stuff, so I just give them everything now.
That's sweet. I like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Brian, go ahead.
So, John, you played, like you said, 15 seasons with 3 different NFL teams. So I'm sure you faced hundreds of different tackles and guards. Which ones stood out to you as the most difficult to face?
Tackles and guards. I would literally have to say the 2000s to the 2003 because they were dirty as hell. I mean, just all those. Like those guys, they used to double, triple. That's when they were able to cut you while you was engaged with blockers and everything. They were the worst. Like they were the worst. They were just so dirty, man. I remember Frank Middleton. He was just so dirty. I mean, this guy used to go just straight for your knees every time. So it was just. It was like no holds barred back in the day. Like the tackles now are, you know, pretty cut and dry. You know, you see a tackle, you beat a tackle, you get a sack. I think my sacks were a lot easier at the end of my career than the beginning. In the beginning, it was so tough because, you know, we had people chipping us and everything. Like I'm watching these people now, I'm looking like, dude, they don't even really get doubled and chipped that much no more because they used to be he used to be active, and it used to be like hurtful. If I can bring up some tape from the past of just the dirty plays that they did, it was incredible that like nobody got like suspended for the stuff they did.
Kevin.
So all four of us panelists are from Pittsburgh, and 3 years in a row, your last 3 years with the Jets, you play the Steelers in the playoffs, and two of the three Steelers take. The last one, you guys, 2005, guys lost by a field goal. What was it? What was that like playing the Steelers 3 years in a row? And I mean, I'm sure there was a bunch of trash talking on the field because it played you guys 3 years in a row. How was that?
It was cool. You know, the last year I didn't play because I was hurt. I had an LCL, and it's crazy because I still get hawked by Jets fans saying that I quit on the team. I'm looking like I had an LCL and I didn't play in that game, and they were like giving it to me like. And, you know, I lost a lot of love at first for the Jets for that because I felt like, you know, Herm Edwards or somebody should have said, like, the guy literally has a knee injury because they told me, like, before the game, they was kind of like, well, John, you know, we're going to say you playing even though you're not playing. So, you know, they're going to prepare for you, but you're not playing. So, you know, I'm like, cool. So, you know, I'm thinking in my head that, you know, people going to know, like, I ain't playing, but, you know, it ended up like backfiring in my face for that. But, I used to love playing Pittsburgh. Ben was one of those guys that, you know, you love to play against because, you know, he ain't going nowhere. So it always was good playing him. But that game would always stick in my mind because, you know, I tried to take the blunt for the team and they ended up backfiring at me.
Isn't that the one where the kicker missed like
three
field goals? Is that what it was?
Yep. I remember I was like cussing him out and he sat beside me and I didn't know he was beside me. That's the only thing I remember. Then I was kind of like, oh no, my bad, bro. You good. I'm like,
that was Doug Bryan, right?
Like,
Bryan, I think it was the same. Yeah,
Brian.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, he's not going to have a job after this. And I was like, that is, because I was ready to play the next week though, because I still remember because Deuce Staley was on that team and me and Deuce went to college together. That was one of those games that really changed my career.
Well, we'll get you out of here with this. You know, I just wanted to get you kind of your thoughts and opinions on it. You know, you can't hit a quarterback nowadays without like a flag being thrown. In your opinion, like, has the NFL gone like too soft, and are some players maybe afraid to make a play because they feel if I hit this guy the wrong way, a flag's going to get thrown? Are they holding up instead of crushing somebody like back in the day?
I can honestly say I think every era thinks it gets softer. Because, you know, when I came in, the era before me was like, man, we used to have to use like Scotch tape. We had to do all kind of crazy stuff. We used to be out here 5-6 hours. You know, so I think every era is going to say it's a little bit easier. And I'm not really sure how soft it can get besides it is now. I mean, I think we're doing an incredible job of protecting guys' heads and protecting guys' bodies in any kind of way possible. Like I'm trying to think what else can football evolve to, you know, besides not being football. You know, like we can't really change anything else. You know, like I know you got to be specific, and you know they got quarterbacks sliding now, can't touch them. You got all kind of stuff, and like I don't know what like really literally what can we do different? Like there's really nothing besides touch football right now because it's. But I'm starting to get used to football now. You know, it's been a while since I really watched. I started watching this year, and it seems like they're teaching guys to run out of bounds now. Like I see every time I see somebody catching, they like running, and I see people run to the outside. You know, back in the day, it was just run down the middle, and then you know it was impossible to run out of bounds. We didn't play that like back in the day. Like you don't run out of bounds, you get the extra yard. So it's definitely a different age of football.
Well, thank you, John Abraham, for joining us tonight. One of the all-time sack leaders, great football player, top 5 Jets defensive player. We know that from the show tonight. Honored to have you on. Thank you, man.
Oh, thank y'all, man. Y'all have a good night and y'all be safe.
Make sure you hit subscribe, whatever you're listening on.